This is Glambition Radio, episode number 276, The New Creative Crisis.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Glambition Radio.
Glambition Radio.
Glambition Radio.
Glambition Radio.
Glambition Radio.
Glambition Radio.
Welcome to Glambition Radio. I am your host, Allie Brown. I'm an entrepreneur, mentor, investor, and founder of The Trust, the modern premier network for 7- and 8-figure women leaders. I love thinking big, doing different, and exploring ideas that disrupt the status quo, especially when it comes to women, because we are creating the new models for leadership, business success, making money, and changing the world. And hey, we're doing it with style. So let's go. Happy New Year, 2022. Do you remember back in 2020? We were thinking 2 weeks to flatten the curve, and here we are. You know, you've probably figured this out about me by now, but we are not participating in this in Arizona. And no matter what happens next, apparently now there's flu-rona. It's just going to keep going, ladies. So, you know, it's probably a good time just to get back to your life. Get back to business. Get back to your dreams. 2022 is going to be the year of your dreams. And when I was thinking about a theme for this show to really kick us off into where we need to be thinking from, operating from, making our decisions from, is this place of being pulled forward. Instead of reacting day to day and pushing through objectives and challenges right in front of us. So my goal for this show is to kind of spit you out on the other side, completely transformed in the half an hour or so we have together. That's a big goal, but I'm going to try by focusing on a theme of creativity. Now, when people think of creativity, they may think of you going to some workshop where you're painting with your hands or doing animal role play. I don't know. You know, you think of these crazy workshops or doing improv, right? And all that stuff's good, but I want to boil this down to brass tacks and really what this means for your business and how it is not necessarily related to art. This is so critical for people to understand right now because there is a true crisis, not only in this country, but in the world, of people not only not being able to think creatively, being trained out of thinking creatively. It's as if people are saying, well, you know, when are things going to be going back to normal so I can do business like I did in 2020, like January 2020? And my answer is, do you know what that tells me? You are doing business in a world that no longer exists. If you are trying to do business as usual, still, and this is actually advice that is sound for any time, let alone right now, then you are going to be having challenges again and again. This is not time to be normal. This is not time to try to fit in with what's happening. This is time for you to aim a lot higher, a lot different, with such different thinking. And the great news is you will be supported. There's so much going on right now that will be supporting you through this, and we'll get to that today. But, you know, if you need some more reasons not to be normal in general, and listen, we all start off following models. We all start off saying, okay, you know, what's the industry average? What are people charging for this? And what do these programs typically look like? Or, you know, if I open a store that sells these type of widgets, what do these type of widget stores usually look like, smell like, sound like? You know, that's how we get information and typically launch out of the gate. But aiming for normal means normal results, if at all. For you, if you're listening to this, I have a strong feeling you didn't go into business to create average results for yourself. And even if you did, if you were like me, I remember my first big dream was the 6 figures, and then I hit that, and I was living in New York City. I'm like, okay, well that pays the rent and groceries. Now what? You know, I had to kick it up because then you forget about business expenses and taxes and all this stuff, right? So your bar gets raised higher, then you get raised to multiple six figures, and then you get raised to $1 million. And then you start thinking, gosh, what do I need to put away for retirement? And you realize this is all on you. And so, it just escalates from there. You cannot aim for normal. You need to aim for extraordinary. Also, aiming for normal means normal results for your clients and customers. And I don't think any of you want that. I mean, do you want your impact to be average? Do you want your impact to be mediocre? This isn't just about you. Good enough is sometimes good enough. But when you're looking at the big picture of things, it's not. And you're going to risk losing them to other more innovative influencers, companies, creators, idea generators who can offer different types of products and services or different levels of service and impact that you are giving out into the world. And aiming for normal also means you're going to get very, very bored. When we begin our ventures, it's exciting, right? We look for those models and to follow and tweak, and it's so exciting at the time. In fact, sometimes they work so well, you feel guilty about wanting something else. I was locked in models that worked splendidly, but hadn't honed my creative shifting skills, I call them, yet. So after a few years, I realized the model was working. I'd been working it, but I'd neglected myself. I'd neglected where I creatively needed to be. I was creatively starved, I described to a friend. And it affected my motivation. It affected my performance. If you are and feel you are a natural creative entrepreneur, you must keep evolving, or you're going to face not only getting stale, but possibly, I'm going to get deep for a second, but unconsciously self-sabotaging what you've created to get out of it because your soul is crying out for something different. What's the upside in all this? Everything going on the last 2 years on top of all this that I'm talking about, you are being forced to be creative in what you are doing and what you are creating and who you are becoming. The challenge, though, is we have forgotten how to think creatively. So we have right now hundreds of thousands of business owners out there, thousands listening to this right now who know they need something different but don't know what it is, going from program to program, abdicating their responsibility, plugging into new formulas, and hoping that that is the solution. We've all been there. But I'm telling you, if there's one skill that will dramatically change your trajectory this year, it is creative thinking, because that leads to the places where you need to go. That leads to the people you may need to work with. That leads to the new models that you're going to pioneer in your industry that the world so desperately needs right now. Have you not noticed? Have you not noticed the world in complete disarray because we are still trying to go about our business, and I mean in life in general, with old models, old institutions? I hope so much of this blows up. I'm disappointed it hasn't already. Our governments should blow up. The way we do politics should blow up. The educational system should blow up. And that's the exciting thing of this. But I don't see enough people stepping up with their ideas. When you know something needs to be different, when you know something needs to change, when you know something's wrong, and you have that little inkling, you know what? Someone needs to go do this. Someone should invent that. That is where we add the magic. And that is when the magic turns on, but we shut it down. Because often we just don't know where to go from there. That is why this topic is so important to me right now. And that is why I am once again having a workshop this April. So in, 3 months from now, and it's called the Creative Strategy Workshop. I first had this workshop in 2019. Now, this is not to be confused with the IP creation workshop I had a few years ago as well. This is the Creative Strategy Workshop. This is about creative immersion. It's 2 full days with me and dozens of other extraordinary entrepreneur leaders. By the way, this event is not just limited to women. All are welcome, men, women, those who are confused. Come on in, okay? We do have a minimum revenue requirement, but you can get the details on that later, okay? So all are welcome in here because I want the diverse viewpoints. I want people with different views on things in the room. This is going to add to our creative breakthroughs. So exciting. You see, people tend to associate creativity with the artistic stuff, right? I mentioned that before. When actually, this leads to the ability to perceive the world in new ways, to find hidden patterns, to make connections between seemingly unrelated phenomena, and to generate solutions. It's about new perspective and direction versus one method of problem solving. And man, this is an epidemic in itself. How we are not only told what to think, but told how to think. I'm seeing this with my kids when they were in public government schools, as some of my friends call it. They are taught not only to get the right answer, but how they got that answer is drilled into their head, and there is no other option. They're not allowed to come up with the answer in that manner. What is that saying for the future of our kids? That is another rant I will save for another time. It's wonderful that we've had all this information and answers at our fingertips now since the web's come out, right? We don't even think of coming up with something on our own. We can go see who's done it before, what's the information, how do we come to the answer, right? This is putting our futures in danger. There's a great quote from this guy, Jonathan Eli, is a contributor for Medium. And he says, a society that consumes more than it creates is in danger. And the developed world is at the tipping point of that dangerous place. We are on the verge of outpacing the creative process through consumption, whether in terms of physical resources or information overload. Too much how-to and not enough what if. Too many answers without the right questions. CEOs of leading companies identify creativity as the number one leadership competency of the future. Number one. And this was interesting regarding children. For lifetime creative accomplishment, there's a 3 times stronger link for childhood creativity versus childhood IQ. Think about that. 3 times stronger link for lifetime accomplishment. Creativity, not IQ. There was a famous test that NASA did, and it was called the George Land Creativity Test. And it was a test given to both adults and children. And the results of the test were the pass rates for this test on creativity. For children who were 5 years old, there was a 98% pass rate. 10 years old, 30% pass rate. 15 years old, 12% pass rate. Adults, 2%. For such an important skill, why is it being trained out of us? Not only in our school years, but now in the real world. World Economic Forum has shared the top 10 skills for the future of jobs in demand 2020. Complex problem solving, critical thinking, and creativity. Creativity was down the list before just 5 years. Now it is in the top 3. You know, AI is going to be replacing all this linear stuff. The future for us and our children is that creative thinking. But you don't have to start with a blank slate or staring at a blank piece of paper. I want to help you with this at this event. We're going to inspire you. We're going to set up an environment that pulls this out of you. And you will walk out of there feeling like you have this creative power you have not tapped into for years. So if you're interested in this 2-day deep dive, let me give you the URL. you want to go to creativestrategyworkshop.us. Don't forget that US, okay? creativestrategyworkshop.us. We have a priority notification page up for now. That will just indicate your interest. There's no commitment. Okay, we just want to get your name on there because when we get that page up, you'll be first to know with all the details. This is going to be Wednesday and Thursday, April 6th and 7th, here in Phoenix, where life is normal. And I have to tell you, several years ago was when I hosted the last one. I had people come up to me who had also been to Iconic and other events saying, Allie, you know what? Your other events were fantastic. This one really just spun my head around. Like I am walking out here with like completely different viewpoints on how I can create things and completely different ways now of stimulating that creativity on demand when I need it. Okay, this isn't going to be, we are not locking up and doing vision boards. Okay, there's going to be very strategic ways to approach this stuff with a lot of fun. We're going to cover innovative strategies from companies like Disney and brilliant thinkers like Da Vinci. We're going to look at like 40 different ways of slicing up how you could create a business model. We're going to have really fun exercises that engage with each other that are just going to pop. I call it the popcorn. The ideas just start popping. Your brain just starts pop, 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 pop. And the power of the room then just multiplies it and amplifies it. So creativestrategyworkshop.us, get on the list there. Now I'm going to share with you 5 key imperatives to revamp your creative superpowers and summon them when needed. Doesn't that sound cool? Like they're going to fly down and rescue you? I know that this is something I need to do for myself. When I have blank space, that's wonderful. I can receive ideas, but how do then I apply creative strategies to those ideas? So even if you're getting these ideas, you're going to get great ways to look at them differently, mix them up, approach them completely opposite maybe than you were before. So number 1 is switch off your unconscious anti-creative programming. After years of being in a particular industry, 2 things are going to happen. First, we view most everything through the lens of that model. We see or don't see challenges through it. We see or don't see opportunities through it. And we make or not make decisions based on it. And after what feels like eons of focusing on those formulas, it's time to shift to work to your genius. You'll still be able to work whatever model you choose, but with a fresh 360 view that empowers you to see things new. You can discover more options than before. You can make your best decisions from there. Now, the second one is mostly for the women. We have this ruthless editor inside ourselves that monitors our every word and creative impulse. She's nasty. She's making you tone things down. She's got the red pen out, She's overthinking things for you. She's protecting your work before you release it to the world. She's having you think ahead. Well, Marge on your Instagram account is not going to like this post. She's going to write something nasty. So then you start anticipating Marge's comment when you are working on this content. You know what I'm talking about. This sounds funny, but we do this to ourselves. We're waking up at 2 a.m. thinking about this stuff. Like, should I have moved the comma? Will it not offend them then? Right? And here's what that editor is. She's trying to keep you safe. It's not her fault, really. She's in your DNA. She's a leftover relic from our cavewoman days. We talked about this at Iconic. Literally back then, if you think about it, if you spoke up, if you had a different idea, if you did something bold, it was a huge risk. We literally could be kicked out of the tribe. Not only could we die, but our children could die. Now, thankfully, it's a new age, but we're still feeling like this is life or death, don't we? So we have to set free the ruthless editor. Maybe we should give her a name. I don't have one yet. Think of one, maybe. Drop me a line on Instagram. She needs to go censor someone else, maybe a competitor of yours. That'd be perfect. Number 2 is tap into your true creative source and access unlimited assistance. I'm going to jump here and go deep. If you've listened to any of my solos over the last 2 years, I've been talking about the ascension and all of humanity as this collective is going through this quickened evolution right now. And you have access now to that internal knowing, that higher power, more than you have in your entire lifetime. If you tap into it and if you allow it. So we've talked about 5D and greater, these different dimensions. I'm not talking about astral travel or floating off the floor. I'm talking about when you know something deep inside. I'm talking about those miracle ideas that come out of nowhere. We are plugged into this energy. We are plugged in and connected to this ether, like ongoing. And some of you aren't even seeing it. You aren't feeling it. Think of this as this golden stream of ideas just whizzing by you 24/7. And you're just looking down. You're looking at what's in front of you. You're not opening to this. So we're actually going to talk about this. We're going to go here at the workshop because source energy is creative energy. You don't have to do this alone. This is the great thing. And don't fret, we're not going to get too woo-woo in the room, but I'll tell you, once you open to this isn't even about how creative you try to make yourself be. The great thing is, it's just about connecting to this, allowing the space, and seeing how you can align with this. Most leaders, good leaders, artists, change makers, who are known for their creativity, have acknowledged the fact that the ideas they receive are from a different place. They're from a higher power. When you create that space and you're in the flow, this is so graceful, and there's an ease to it. I mean, this should just be making you feel relieved when you hear this. Most people, though, don't even make the space to take advantage of this, and it's right in front of them. Number 3 is you need a way to create fresh ideas at will without reinventing the wheel every time. So we've switched off the unconscious anti-creative programming, right? Step 1, if you've done that. Okay, I'm going through this quickly, obviously. Number 2, let's say you've tapped into that creative source and you're plugged in. You're like, all right, Allie, I'm ready. I'm sitting, my palms are facing upward and I'm feeling it. It's critical, though, you open your mind to other clues, triggers, environments to stimulate your creative thinking. Big problem I have seen for years is people getting into these incestuous situations in their industry, and they only go to industry events. You're sitting around looking at each other, talking about the same model and how, well, he's doing this with the model and she's doing this with the model. And my gosh, what if you just blow the model up? What if you just get out of there, hightail it out of there, and get around some real business people that we're going to have in this room who are brilliant thinkers? And I tell you, your model is going to be completely blown up. We have had people walk out and completely do a 180, and it changes the trajectory of who they work with, how they make money, the grace, the ease. Suddenly they don't care about competition. It is just pure magic. So I'm going to give you my secrets to instantly make yourself more innovative when you need to be, quick ways to generate juicy new content quickly, ways to get those ideas and different perspectives much faster than you would otherwise. Number 4, view and approach problems and opportunities differently. My twins are 8.5 now. We homeschool, as I've mentioned before. And one of the biggest joys of that, I've never said it's easy. I ain't saying it's easy, but it's amazing to witness their creative process every day and to be in the front row for that versus that happening in a classroom outside of my knowing and just hoping that they're learning and experiencing what they should. And it just strikes me every day how creative they are and what fresh little minds they have and what amazing perspectives they have on things. And from imaginative play to generating solutions from limited supplies and resources, they are just astounding me with their, I'll use the word unbridled curiosity. Schools where we learn facts and figures and that linear problem solving, like I mentioned, that's just not the future. We have a friend here in town that She works for one of those big 5 consulting firms. And, I've gotten to know more about what she does for a living. And she's basically shared with me, over margaritas, she said, my job's to go into companies and see what jobs we can take over with AI. And when you think about the future of that and what that means and what's going to be in demand and what is human and what can be inhuman, let's focus on the human. Let's focus on the creation. Humans create. We don't just consume. So for this one, I will actually give you ways to apply different filters to what you're considering so you will be able to view and approach things differently and see all the resources, see all the options. Then you can make the decision that's truly best for you versus thinking there's one answer right in front of you. And you know what? I want to mention something too, because women do this to ourselves. Don't beat yourself up over this. Like throughout your career, and mine as well, we've always made the best decision that was in front of us at the time. And that served us to a certain point. But going into this new age and new world, it's not going to be enough. So number 5 is applying it. Applying those creative superpowers to your current business and your future. We will help each other in that room do this. We will think through, where are these blind spots and where can I bust out in a whole new direction? Or maybe there's a shortcut that's totally right in front of me. I'm not seeing it. That is higher profit, more impact, maybe a whole different market that's easier to reach and has money and, or maybe this will unlock a whole new mission that you want to create for yourself in the world. Maybe not even related to business. We're not going to limit ourselves in this room. So I'm going to give that URL again. Come check it out. Even if you're just curious, please go there. It's creativestrategyworkshop.us. Get on the priority notification list. We'll have the sales page ready, probably next week. I hope. We're a little behind from the holidays, but that's why I wanted to get this page up where you get on the list and then you're guaranteed to be first to know when all the details are ready. It is, again, April 6th and 7th here in Phoenix, Arizona. We're having it at a top-rated golf and spa resort. We know how to resort here in the Scottsdale area. It's such a great place. I remember when I first moved here, Brett and I met in LA. It's where I had the kids. And then we just wanted a dramatic change. Man, so glad we got out of there. And we came down here and I'm thinking, oh gosh, I wonder if my clients will want to come down here. They're so used to coming to LA. And then, we're like, wait, are we kidding? It's resort capital. There's people in here from all over the country right now visiting for the great weather, the great lifestyle. Come down, bring the spouse, bring the kids. It can be a great getaway at the same time. That's a write-off. This is a business expense. You're here to talk with your accountant, but you're here to invest in yourself and growth for your business. creativestrategyworkshop.us. Also, follow me on Instagram at Allie Brown Official because I'm going to be doing a series of lives on this topic too and giving even more gems and dropping more of these hints and ideas and ways that you can start to think differently even before we get to the workshop. Okay? April 6th and 7th, here in Phoenix, creativestrategyworkshop.us. And as always, thank you. Just Happy New Year. Thank you for listening. Thank you for following me. I really feel that 2022 is going to be our breakout year. I think 2020 was the transition, 2021 was the wake up, and 2022 is going to be the breakout for so many of us that we're just going to be flying high. But you have to plug in to this amazing new frequency that is right in front of you. Hope to see you there, creativestrategyworkshop.us. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Glambition Radio. If you enjoyed the show, make sure you subscribe so you automatically get my new shows every week. Also, I'd love if you left us a review so more women like you can discover us. We're on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Pandora, and other major platforms. And I'd love to hear from you personally. Come join the conversation on social. Instagram is my happy place lately, and that's Allie Brown Official, but you can find links to my other platforms at alliebrown.com. Glambition Radio is the elevated conversation for women leaders, and I'm honored you tuned in.